So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to WMTR Radio, Something About the Truth with your host Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno, a show with two Jersey attorneys that aren't talking about the law. It's about mindset, Dave. Everything is about mindset, and we've been so honored to be able to do this show because we have amazing guests, and we've got another great one. Pre-interview has been unbelievable.
Yeah, Bob, we have Dean Tarlika Nuñez-Navarro. She is the Dean of St. Thomas University School of Law. She is recognized by her trailblazing legal career as the first Colombian American to hold circuit court seats in two major Florida circuits and part of the largest group of female Hispanic judges in the United States. Her leadership is marked by a strong commitment to public service, inclusivity in legal education, and empowering students from diverse backgrounds to achieve their full potential. Welcome to the show, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dean, it is such a pleasure. And one of the reasons, for those that don't know, is I attended St. Thomas. My first year of law school. That was before the dean was there. But I am eternally grateful for the opportunity that St. Thomas has given me, because at that time, Dean, that was the only school that took me and gave me a chance. And it was, across the country. I had to go down south to do it, but it really gave me an opportunity to go into a different environment away from what I was really comfortable with in my hometown and state. And I learned a lot from all of the students, and that was really my support group down in Florida when I went. It was the students at St. Thomas. And what we would do is we'd go to class, we'd chill out in the breezeway a little bit, and then we'd all go home and then study, read, and get ready for the next day. And then when the weekend came, well, then we would go to either Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and we would have our fun too. But it was nice to be surrounded by like-minded students that were all 1Ls, trying to do their best and do great. So, when we connected and I saw the great things you're doing at St. Thomas, I had to reach out. I had to introduce myself. And when the opportunity came for Nothing But the Truth, it was a no-brainer for us. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, David, thank you for having me. We are very proud of you, and we will take all the credit for your success.
Thank you so much.
So, Dean, we were talking before. I also have connective tissue to St. Thomas in that a relative, the Monsignor Franklin Casal, was, I guess, your predecessor. Is that about right?
No, not quite. He was a president, so I'm the dean of the College of Law. But yes, he was one of our former presidents here at St. Thomas University.
Yeah, so that's my dad always speaks so highly of the school as well as the Monsignor. So welcome to the show. I'm really interested. Tell me, I'm going to jump right into it. I was talking to you earlier. I work with a lot of young people today. For many years, generationally speaking, you always listen to the generation ahead of you say, you kids are lazy. You're not like, we were. And, because things change. But I think the generations today, the ones who are growing up with phones, iPhones and computers, because we didn't. We all here. I think you too, right?
I had a computer, Bob.
But you also knew traditional means. But I want to show you, that's funny. But the thing is that the chasm of difference now between the students when I went 30 years ago to law school versus now has got to be a challenge for you guys. And then the secondary point I want to bring out is, I feel educators are under the gun. Everyone I know who is in the higher education field, to me, and this is not a disrespect, I just feel bad for the professors that I know, it's the tail wagging the dog. And a lot of times the students are driving the results rather than the educators. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Academia, it just in itself is a very interesting world. As an outsider coming in, as a true practitioner, a trial attorney, as a circuit court judge, and someone who emphasizes the practical knowledge of the law versus the theory of the law, it has been extremely interesting, to say the least. But I am just, it's such an honor to be able to shepherd the next generation of law students into real world, to have that impact on them, to get them ready for the courtroom, and to get them ready for real practice.
Well, you come with an incredibly eclectic level of experience into the education role, as a lawyer, as a judge, and coming into academia. I have this question, I ask it all the time. Should we be training people to be trial lawyers like we used to? Because to me, the grim reality is the system, at least in New Jersey, is set up to rebuke the trial, to avoid the trial at all costs. And the trial, the judges in at least New Jersey feel, is a breakdown in the system. And consequently, your former student here, Mr. Bruno, he was one of the last of the Mohicans to get a significant amount of trial experience. But whereas I was trying 15, 20 cases a year, prosecutors can be, for example, in a prosecutor's office for 10 years and not try a case.
Not down here, not in South Florida. Our prosecutors are trying cases, and I'm proud to put our students in the Broward State Attorney's Office and our Orlando State Attorney's Office and the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. We are heavily recruited from those state attorneys' offices, and they are getting trial work. They're getting trial work as certified legal interns as well. And they're doing excellent. We have the best trial team in the state of Florida 3 years in a row. We've won the Chester Bedell competition. It's the most prestigious competition in the Florida bar here. And so last year it was St. Thomas versus St. Thomas. So we really are dominating in the trial world. And I think that's very important. I mean, yeah, maybe our trial stats are down, but if you're not ready to go to trial, if you're not prepared, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to get a settlement.
Yeah, I've actually said, Dave, you can pick up on this, but we're more powerful now because we have that coveted knowledge that lesser and lesser people have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did a TED Talk on this point. In essence, as a lawyer, it's hard to get trial experience coming out of school. And that's why I think that my path through the prosecutor's office was the best, because when you come out and you don't have the experience, how do you get the confidence of your clients? More seasoned attorneys often take, and you're either second seating or you're helping out. But prosecutor's office, in my opinion, and both Bob and I started there, got the experience there, is such an amazing opportunity to get the experience. Because to your point, Dean, you cannot get good deals. You got to bring the authority, bring the credibility, bring the skill set to put them to the test, to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's the best way to negotiate, for sure.
Absolutely. And we're number one in public interest placement here in the state of Florida, 22 in the nation for a reason. I stress state attorney's office, not only state attorneys, but public defenders. If you want to go work for the public defender, that's great. I started there. I did my CLI there. I had 12 jury trials under my belt before I started as a prosecutor. Wow. You can't get that experience in the classroom. And so, we are producing real trial attorneys here.
Yeah, I love the fact that you have the experience, the public defender's office, the prosecutor's office, as a judge, and now as a dean. I wonder, that experience in the courtroom, Dean, how did that bring forth this vision that you have, that you continue to impact and serve this community?
Well, I wish I could take, I wish that I would say I had the vision, but I really didn't. I just wanted to help. And I was teaching at night. I had my clerks on the bench with me. I always had maybe one or two clerks behind me because I believed in giving back and I believed in mentoring and helping those that come behind me. So I didn't really have the vision. I can't take credit. But when the call came, I was like, wow, well, I love teaching at night. So how hard can deaning be? And it was quite a wake-up call. It's been a lot of fun over the last couple of years.
What are some of your biggest takeaways from being a judge for our community, the trial lawyers, the practitioners out there that you could share with us?
Well, it's so important to have real life people on the bench and in the courtroom. They have to understand the community in which they serve. And that's why when I always had clerks behind me sitting on the bench, I was so impressed with St. Thomas students. They had the grit, they had the determination, they had what I call street credibility to have these discussions with the judge and to give me a briefing on what they think about the attempted murder that happened in across the tracks, and their experience in life and what they brought to the table versus an Ivy League student. There's nothing wrong with an Ivy League student, but an Ivy League student may not have that real life experience. And so I was always so impressed with St. Thomas and also FAMU, where I was teaching up in Orlando at night when I was on the bench. So I think it's, as a judge, you see that. You see how important it is for trial attorneys to connect with jurors, because at the end of the day, the jurors are going to make the determination, and the jurors are real life people. So you have to be able to relate to them.
I think that's law school philosophy, and also what I say to people who are thinking of going to law school and what law school they're going to pick. What do you want to be? Where is your love? Seton Hall, where I graduated, was known as a very street. When you said that, it resonated with me. Very trial oriented. A lot of working as in the defense space and whatever. You got a lot of litigation experience prior to taking the bar exam, but you weren't going to be in a white shoed law firm that is only looking for Ivy League graduates and very ethereal thinkers and very high-minded and lofty people. But they would make the most money for sure. And many of them may have had a career where they've regretted it, but they didn't have that skill set to be talking in front of a jury, common sense, being able to relate and making a difference in the lives of other people. And Dean, last point, I just want to see what you're feeling about the philosophy of the law school and how that can really make a difference about where you go. As my dad used to always say to me, who's about to be 93 as a lawyer, you can always make a difference in somebody's life and make them breathe easier if you want to be a lawyer that represents the people as opposed to doing this just for financial benefit. I think that's a huge distinction students need to know about. What do you think?
That's a wonderful point. We just had orientation. We had our largest class in the school history with the most accomplished class. Over 50% of them have graduate degrees. LSAT and GPAs are higher than they ever have been. So we had quite an accomplished 1L class. And when I speak to them, I ask them, the first thing I always ask them is, what is your why? What is your purpose? So that when you come to me, I can remind you of that. When you're breaking down, when you're stressed out, when you think you can't make it, I want to remind you of that why. And throughout that 3-day orientation process, we brought in federal judges, we brought in community leaders, because I want to expose them to all walks of life and possibilities to what their future could look like. And so many of them came up to me afterwards and said, you know what, I thought I wanted to come to law school because of X, but now I want to do Y, because I saw, Judge Altman up talking about public service and the importance of giving back to my community, and that's what I want to do. So it's really all about planting that seed in their mind about purpose and service, and that's what's going to make them happy in the long run, not just the big dollars and the big law firms.
That is amazing that you do that. That is so needed, and you know what? I think that it's needed for lawyers that have been out for 30 years too, to get back to what's your why. But we're going to have to take a quick break here at WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth. We'll be right back.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
All right, welcome back to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth with your host, Bob Bianchi, Dave Bruno. Dean, great conversation, and I think setting the expectations and empowering people that I always say it's going to be a prison if you're doing this for the money. It's too much dedication. It's too much angst, too much anxiety, too much time. They always say the law is a jealous mistress. I'm sorry, I know I'm going to say something controversial. You may not have the work-life balance, but if your passion is helping people, if your passion is making a difference, there is nothing more versatile than a law degree. Whether you're a lawyer, whether you're working in corporations or whether you're representing individuals as a public defender, a prosecutor, to make that difference where you can look back at the end of your life and say, wow, my life was meaningful and made a difference. What message would you have with regard to that and older lawyers who I think sometimes burn out?
Absolutely. This is the greatest profession. I continuously tell our students that you can do whatever you want. You can pivot at any time. You can change from criminal law to family law to corporate law to in-house counsel. I mean, you're just so versatile, like you said. I don't really believe in the term work-life balance because, as both of you know, I live, eat, and breathe my job. I love what I do, and if my family and friends don't understand that, then they're really not a part of my group. Because I think it's so intertwined, helping people, it gives you purpose every single day. And like you said, we change lives. We are first responders. We help people solve their problems. And if you continue to live in service, I think you are fulfilled. And that's what I try to preach to these kids every single day.
Yeah, work-life balance is a term that's thrown around a lot, as well as attorney wellness. Now, this is something that I've personally been on stages talking about. I believe that while this is such a fulfilling occupation, it also brings stresses of handling people's problems. And we are dealing with people's problems. We have our own problems. And then you layer on top of that the adversarial system where you're fighting against your adversaries and the distractions in this world, including social media and Netflix and gambling and alcohol abuse and all the things. I believe that this is a worthy conversation of wellness, despite the fact that this is such a fulfilling occupation. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. It's like a trauma surgeon, right? Trauma surgeon, it's fulfilling, but it is hard. It's hard work. It's draining. And you have to have the tools to protect yourself and the boundaries so that you have longevity in your profession. And that's how I got started, is teaching mental health and wellness to law students across the state. So this is a passion of mine. I've always taken it very seriously. Daily habits, you are the equivalent of your daily habits, and your morning routine sets you up for success for the rest of your day. So we start that very early with our law students. We just started an orientation. We also incorporated into our bar prep and academic success program spirituality, faith-based practices, whatever it is, just having that time. Nutrition, very important. Meditation practice, definitely working out, moving your body. We provide wellness, yoga, all of that to our students. We take a holistic approach, and it's really working out quite well, as you can see with
Can we go back? Can we go back? I want to go back now, Judge. You're telling me I can meditate and work out and all the things. It's exceptional, honestly, because of the stresses that these students have during law school. I mean, reading, for those that didn't read going into law school, like yours truly here, wow, what a shock, honestly.
Well, that's crazy that you could say you got to law school without reading, but
no. Let's correct that. I mean, not the way that I did when I was in law school. That's for sure. Recreational at times, but yeah, I did have other priorities, which is one of the reasons I needed one shot down in St. Thomas. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those things are. But the one thing that I have is that that's great. That's all wonderful stuff for like people like me and you. But there are people who I feel don't want to put the time in to learn the craft. They don't want to put the time in to learn. Look, the reason this guy succeeded the way he did was because he became known to me as the guy who would be there at 7 a.m. He'd be there at 7 p.m. I remember literally a guy walking in going, that guy Bruno, man, he's out making copies. I got to make copies. He went and got me coffee. He'll get a sandwich for somebody. Nary a whisper of a problem. Nary a, that's beneath me. He was happy to be part of the team. Whereas other people at 8:30, their foot literally hit the floor of the office, and at 4:29, their foot was hovering over the elevator and then hit at 4:30. And I'm sorry. People look at that and they're like, well, I have a work-life balance. There's also the other part of that. You can't hide. You have to put your dues in too. And it's stressful.
Wow. Absolutely. And that's why I'm so proud of my St. Thomas students, because they understand that. They've been working 2 jobs since the time they were, like me, 12. I mean, I've worked 3 jobs since the time I was 12. Working, 12, 15-hour days is not a problem for me. It's something that I'm used to, and I enjoy what I do. And it's something that I stress with them. Like, if you're going to do this, you better love what you do. You better pick an area that you really are passionate about, because if not, you're not going to succeed. You have to put in the time. You got to be the first one in the office. You got to hustle.
Yeah, well said. This book, Believe, first of all, what an amazing title. I mean, it's just following suit with the themes that are being discussed on this show already. But tell me, what brought you to write the book? It's a children's book, and it has impact and service and community wrapped all in it through what you're providing. But at what point in your career did you say, let me now become an author?
Well, Lawyers for Literacy, I was reading for them across the state as a sitting judge. I would go into middle schools and elementary schools, and I would say, okay, who here knows what a judge does? And they would all raise their hand, and I'd say, well, I'm a judge. And they'd say, no, you can't be a judge. You don't look like a judge. And I just continuously heard that. And I'm like, well, what does a judge look like? And I would poll the class, and they would tell me, well, it's an old white man, that whole thing. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to write my own book. I'm going to tell them jurists should look like the community that they serve. And I'm going to talk to them about rule of law. And also with the middle school and high schoolers, they don't have a civics foundation. So they don't know that judges don't have a lot of discretion, that we really do follow the law. That's what we do. We don't invent the law. We don't do what makes us feel good at the end of the day. If you're being a good judge, you don't feel good when you go home. You're not comfortable with all of your decisions. And so I thought that I could touch on all those branches there in that book. And that's what I tried to do. And it gives me the opportunity to take my book into schools and educate them, and probably one of the big reasons why I'm in the role that I'm in now.
Oh, amazing. What about recent projects or initiatives that you're passionate about?
Well, certainly our bar prep program. That's something that I came in as a board of advisor on the St. Thomas advisory board. I was an outsider looking into the College of Law, like, what is going on? What are you guys doing? Like, your bar passage it's not good. It's not moving. Your rankings aren't moving, And so as an outsider now, my primary objective is get them placed and get them to pass the bar. That's my baby, our bar prep program, really overhauling that, making sure that we're taking care of a student. We train like athletes, like I told you. We emphasize nutrition. We emphasize, mental health and well-being and all of that, when probably other law schools across the nation aren't. So I'm very, very proud of that program. And also getting them into the courthouses. I realized that 3Ls have never been in a courtroom. And I'm like, this is crazy to me. They haven't visited jails. They haven't visited probation. They don't know how to deal with, getting through security and knowing the bailiffs and all of that. So just giving real practical, real world experience to our law students. I'm very passionate about those programs.
Wow, amazing. Bob, I'm thinking as we're sitting here about our Students Interested in Law program that we have done for many years in the schools as well as privately too. And we have a program, a workshop for students interested in law, Dean. And I wonder for that community, for that audience that we frequently connect with and communicate with, what messages would you send to somebody considering going to law school?
Get real world experience. And, it's funny that I tell them this because I sit down with so many students and undergraduates, and parents have me speak with their kids, and they've got to have some type of real world experience. They can't just, now these days, they graduate with a bachelor's degree by the time they're 20 years old. They graduate from high schools already with an AA. They're getting their master's by the time they're 21. So I think they need to slow down. They need to really work and understand, what it means to actually work before they go into the legal profession and then serve those industries.
Well, listen, we're coming close to an end, but Dean, I can tell you could tell your students, but at least this guy who hired hundreds and hundreds of young people, if I just saw straight academia on those resumes or bios, they went away. I don't care where you came from, how well you did in school. I want to see practical work experience, and volunteer activities were always impressive to me, because that shows me where your heart is when you're not getting paid for it and no one's really watching what it is that you're doing. Dean, I'm just asking, great career, amazing. I wish we could have you back again. We clearly think alike. We're kindred spirits, but you've accomplished so much. You're doing so much. You're so impressive. What are the 3 or 2, and I'm not holding it to the number, adjectives that describe why you think it is that you've been so successful that other people could also think in their lives to make them as successful?
I just think living with purpose. I would say that's definitely one. And a servitude mentality. At the end of the day, you're on your deathbed. What did you do? How did you serve society? What are you most proud of? What is the legacy that you left behind? So those are my 2 adjectives.
We'll leave it on that. I'm going to send you a link to my TED Talk, Deathbed Confessions, because it's exactly what you just said there. Dean, thank you so much. This is WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth. Bob, Bianchi, Dave Bruno, 9:30 in the morning on Saturdays. Dave, where can they find the podcast?
NothingButTheTruthPodcast.com is the webpage. It's got all of the interviews, video, links to Spotify, into the podcast platforms, everything you guys need to know to see this interview if you're listening on the radio, and then also all of the other great interviews we have done. Dean, such a pleasure. Thank you for accepting our invitation for the show, and a lot of great takeaways and notes to take from this interview for anybody that wants to be a lawyer.
Thank you both for having me. All right, have a good one.
The Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said,
relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
To get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.